taste, Ricky, or are you talking?
We do it all here. And it's bourbon month. So we're all going to taste, talk. And I always enjoy having Rick and Ricky Johnson back on bourbonblog.com, the founders of 15 Stars and so much more. Is that we're going to talk about the First West line, the rye, the Fine Aged Rye. And we should mention today marks the release of the very first Artisan Collection that they are doing. It is a small run of 1,290 bottles. They're blending some 15-year-old and 12-year-old bourbon. And I believe, are we the first to talk to you about this as far as media outlets go?
One of the very first. I mean,
the very first, right here.
Well, today's the day, right?
So, today is it. Congrats. Yeah. And good to see you, gentlemen. How you been?
Great. I'm glad to be back with you.
Yeah. Well, so good to be with you, too. I'm sipping on a little First West, which we'll sip through in a moment and taste through. But congrats. So many great things happening. Let's go right to the first part of the news, which is the Artisan Collection. This is going to be at Bourbon Festival. I'll be there this weekend. You all will be there. What is this Artisan Collection? And tell us about the big news.
Yeah, so Artisan Collection is a special bottle for us. One, because it is, even before its release, was a Best Bourbon winner at the John Barleycorn Awards this year.
Yes.
So got a little bit of a head start with that, and but it's a really nice bourbon, a blend of 12 and 15-year-old bourbons. The 12 being a really high corn mash bill, so you get a lot of that sweetness in the product. And the 15 bringing a bit of oak to it, as you would expect. So it creates a really round product, very thick in kind of dark fruit and dessert notes. Proofed to 109 proof. So if you know our lineup, that's on the higher end for us, but still a really nice balance where it's not hitting you too hard. It's a nice smooth drinker where it's approachable for a lot of people, but also brings the richness that a higher proof can.
It's Kentucky and Indiana. Which is the Kentucky? Which is the Indiana again?
15 Kentucky, 12 Indiana.
12 Indiana. What were you looking for bringing, two wonderful states, delicious bourbons? What were you looking for bringing those together?
So in terms of states, I mean, we think more about the flavor that each product brings. So it wasn't as much a thought of, hey, let's take some Indiana and combine it with Kentucky. We just had two really good distillates that we enjoyed and thought would complement each other well. And turns out we were right. And so that was that's the idea behind the blend.
Yeah, that's kind of how we do everything, really. Flavor leads, so we don't have, we don't kind of come at it trying to do anything. We go out and we've got samples of a broad inventory. And when something really works, when something is a candidate to be a best bourbon, we go with it, and this time it won.
This time it won. It'll be available at select retailers nationwide, and also, of course, for those of you all like me and Rick and Ricky at Bourbon Fest, you can find it at Bourbon Fest. I imagine it'll go quick. That's my guess.
I hope so. Our releases did last year, so hopefully it'll do well. We know it's people will love it. So if anybody's at KBF, give it a try.
You're starting tomorrow. You'll be there all weekend. Your first time to actually exhibit was last year. What was that experience like? And what are you looking forward to this weekend?
It was great. I mean, we got to meet there's so many people that are enthusiasts of bourbon that attend that. And, we got to meet a lot of old friends, right? People that we'd seen before that, just surprised us while we were there, and met a lot of new friends. And, for us being a relatively new brand, right, to share what we're doing with a group of real bourbon aficionados is just a ball. And so it went well for us, and we're back to do it again.
We love how you share it. It's the father and son team that is taking the bourbon and American whiskey scene by storm, or should we say corn, right?
There you go.
Actually, you're holding some corns there. You're holding some that are using new bourbon. Go ahead. Yeah,
that's what we started with, this little black corn. That's not in these, but I don't have the white and the blue, but here's the red one. So popcorns that we use in our popcorn business called Black Jewel. And so we've grown these for years, and inventory them. And Ricky got a project one summer to say, hey, what if we turn these into bourbon? And so for the first time, these are in a bottle. We've been out 4 weeks with our new First West, and so excited to be tasting those at Kentucky Bourbon Fest. And here we go.
Just been out for about a month or so with First West. Just came out earlier this summer, and this First West small batch we're going to start off with. This is the one that actually has some of your own corn. This is the corn you've been using in popcorn for how many years?
Probably 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
How did it, as we're sipping on this, give us just sort of the overview. How did this become this beautiful corn? These gentlemen know their corn, their popcorn. You're experts in the corn. How did it go from the corn to here?
There you go, Ricky.
So, as far as the corns go, the interesting part of starting it all is we didn't know that they would go from corns to there. So there was some experimentation along those lines, and we're partnered with the awesome people at Bardstown Bourbon Company, who we started distilling with them. They're just a very welcoming group that we're excited about the project. So they ran the chemistry on the corns for us, found out that they would be a candidate and yield a good amount of bourbon. And so they, as of November 2019, started distilling that black corn. But all of the corns have, a similar chemistry, similar yields to them. The red, white, and blue similarly to the black. So that was something that was interesting to see, because that was really not something we knew at the time, or not something we were extraordinarily confident in at one point. But they all turn out well, brought great flavors to a product, and we're distilling that black on its own in a wheated bourbon mash bill, the red, white, and blue both together and separately in rye bourbon mash bills, and even doing some cool stuff like a barely legal rye, where the corn portion of the rye is a black and white corn blend. So doing some interesting stuff with the corns that haven't all made it into a bottle, but we're excited about.
That's very exciting. And I'm tasting right now. This is the red, white, and blue corn that you all have done with Bardstown Bourbon Company. Give me an idea of what if you're able to, the mash bill, the breakdown. How did this one come about?
Yeah, so for the small batch, the mash bill on the red, white, and blue corn bourbon is a 70-18-12. So 70 corn, 18 rye, 12 malted barley, percentage-wise. And it's a really interesting blend. And, the interesting part of it is that, like I said, we've distilled them all separately. We distilled all those corns separately in the exact same mash bill, and each of them express themselves differently when distilled on their own and when distilled together. And when you take all of them distilled on their own and blend them together, it doesn't taste like when you've distilled them already together. So, they're very unique corns, but when distilled together, like in the small batch, bring kind of what I would consider a more earthy note to the product, but also a sweetness. So a little contrary to each other, but that earthy note brings an interesting roundness to the product. But the sweetness I would consider to be sort of a candy sweetness.
It is.
Yeah.
It has this candy, this kind of this delicate pie crust, but also creaminess. It goes into a lot of in many ways it kind of goes into like a lot of favorite like southern sort of treats, banana pudding in a good way, kind of that some of those maybe even a touch of Derby pie, like a little.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. So again, this one, all those different corns distilled together, and then is it partially this is it all yours, or did you blend it with some others as well?
Blended with some others.
Yeah. Some others, yep.
Yeah. So the 5-year portion, right? We've been doing this since 2019. So our oldest is almost 6 years old.
6.
Right. And so with a 5, 6, 7, we still like, we're not a fan of 4-year-old bourbons, and even 5-year. A lot of times we would wait, but honestly, we put this one in a barrel at 103 proof, and it was just ready. And so but
More proof.
we still wanted to put the 6 and 7 year old with it to just give it some extra age. Over the next couple of years, our distilled product will fill that in. But you got a luscious blend of, again, 5, 6, and 7 year old bourbons, with the 5 being that really unique blend. And again, we let flavor lead us, right? So if it's wherever it's better, that's
wherever it's ready.
Yeah.
You go with that. I love that. This is it's really, as I was saying earlier, it doesn't remind me of anything I've had before. It's delicate, balanced, beautiful sweetness, easy, and the nuances on it. The more I sip on it, the more I am getting those different candy notes, certain notes, just beautiful, that beautiful corn coming through. And again, this First West is out nationwide. You're in many states, right?
28 or so.
28.
Yeah, but we haven't rolled the First West out to all those. We're doing it methodically. So we're probably in 10 states right now with the First West. So again, we're 4 weeks in. We're taking a process approach to getting it in those states. But again, available in Kentucky at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, or online at our website. If you happen to be in one of those states we're not in yet.
You can have it at the Bourbon Festival. You can look on their website. There's so much to talk about here. But again, on the different corns that are yours, the distill, or this mash bill, you made the distillate, you aged it all together for a portion of this, but you are doing the red, the white, the blue, and the black separately. How are those coming along? And what are you're I'm sure we'll be seeing these in some different blends, maybe even as 100% red, or at some point maybe.
Yeah, we'll be testing. I don't know we haven't decided whether we'll release them just out in the open market. We'll probably do some special releases with them individually, just for people that want to try it. We still love blending, right? And so what you'll see from us over the next couple of years, right? This is the first one that's been in a bottle. And over the next couple of years, you're going to see some really interesting blends of those. And of course, we distill traditional bourbons as well, a dozen mash bills every year. So we're kind of creating a palette that we can work with in blending, so that we can continue what's kind of brought us all these awards, right? Of how do you bring these flavors that can combine together and add extra complexity and give you something that, while they're gorgeous, that 5-year-old red, white, and blue whiskey it's a bourbon. It's a beautiful thing on its own. But when you add some other things to it, it gets even better. So we want to keep doing that. So they'll be coming 26 and 27. There's going to be a lot of fun with that, and we're really looking forward. Each of them tastes different. The white one is kind of just really crisp and clean, and in some ways, the corn's not overtaking it, and so it allows the other elements in the mash to kind of come through in a different way. A really, really nice whiskey. The red corn is spicy and earthy, and it brings a boldness of flavor that's just almost the opposite, of that white. The blacks in a wheat mash bill, so it brings I call it buttery peppermint. Which is, it has that. You've never heard anybody say that probably before, but it's a really interesting flavor. And the blue is just kind of a rich, deep, again, earthy. They just bring some real special things that in a blend, it's colors to a palette that nobody's distilled these. We own the trademark and we own the rights to the grains on these, and so yeah. New to industry.
I love the innovation you all have brought, and that's something that obviously we love heritage brands, we love new brands, but I think it was really the right time and the right flavor, the right people. You all are such a great team, and what you're doing with the flavor proofing with these, you're just continuing to innovate. Again, when you did take your corn to Bardstown Bourbon Company, and they said it was the right corn candidate, what led to that? What got you from the corn you were making to saying, oh, we should try this? And how long do you have to wait to know your corn's a candidate? Is that like you're waiting, you're like, oh, will my corn be a candidate? How does that work?
Yeah, the start was all my dad's idea, actually. But the idea behind it was that he had a project for me where he asked if I wanted to go and see if we could turn the popcorns, like I think he mentioned that we sell through a brand called Black Jewel, and turn those into bourbon. And of course, I was interested, and so took a summer. This was while I was in college, so a summer home from school, and kind of, had a lot to learn. So went on a learning expedition and made some connections. Bardstown Bourbon Company came into that picture. As far as the testing the chemistry and figuring out if the corns would work or not, we just had to ship some of the corn down to them and they could run some tests. So there was a little nail biting, but not for too long.
But then, to get the flavor, there's only one way to do that.
Yeah.
That's run the barrels, right?
Make it and put it in the
We
barrel.
knew you could distill it, but we weren't sure it wasn't going to taste like crap.
Yeah, what pops out?
delicious.
Or really what we really wondered was, I think what we really thought was, would you even notice a difference in flavor? We honestly thought right off the bat, maybe you just distill all this and you can't even tell the difference.
Right.
But that didn't happen. They are distinctly different.
But right away, this is a different corn. Oh, is this
Absolutely
mostly grown in Indiana, the corns?
Indiana and Kentucky.
Indiana, Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Incredible story. Yeah. And so many stories to tell. This is the toasted oak. And this is, tell me about the toasted oak. What are we tasting here? This is wonderful.
So like the small batch, a blend of 5, 6, and 7-year-old, the 5 being that same red, white, and blue corn mash bill. Okay. The 6 is different, actually. It is a slightly higher rye mash bill, rye bourbon mash bill in the toasted than the small batch. The 7 remains the same. This is proof to 98 proof. I forgot to mention the small batch, 102.
Right.
And so, finished in 2 different toasted oak profiles, one of which is a heavy toast, so will impart more oak notes, and the other a more sweet toast, so more butterscotch, caramel, brown sugar notes. And that's the slight majority at 60%. So you'll get a little more of that, but a balance of the two.
You get that wonderful caramel, that toffee on there. It is very well balanced. This one is all of it Kentucky, or is part of it different Indiana, or is it all Kentucky?
Everything in the First West products is Kentucky.
Everything First West is Kentucky. Okay, excellent. So First West, we were talking earlier. This bottle Rick has there. There's a real the name, the bottle. Tell us how this got inspired, because
I
love the bottle. I've never seen a bottle like this in bourbon. In modern day, there hasn't been one. Tell us.
First off, so, with 15 stars, Kentucky was 15th state, second U.S. flag, 15 stars, 15 stripes. We got into the history of Kentucky and bourbon. And so we thought, okay, and give you a little bit of lesson around the bottle, but you see the look of it. You see that blue-green color?
Yes.
And so we got that, and we got the design from this bottle. So this is a bottle made in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, in the 1840s. And so this is the first bottle ever made in Kentucky and used for bourbon. And so we've collected a bunch of historical craft artisanship, hand blown, glass. And so we own a few of these, and we don't, just like in our bourbons, we don't copy. We are inspired, kind of by the past and what's been done. So we got our own version of that bottle that we created here that really, it's got all the heritage of this bottle. We made it in recycled glass to kind of pick up the old. We got the blue coloring right to match it. We put some bubbles in the glass, so it has that feel of the old glass.
Yeah. So you really feel like you're touching something from the 1840s. You literally are touching something that was designed after. How did that work? You took it to the glass company that does it and said,
we took it to a great group of designers called the firm Stranger and Stranger, and they put together this design. Just to show you a couple of things for history as well. The top of it has 15 stars, and you can't see it real well, but off of a coin called a Kentucky token made in 1795 that celebrates Kentucky as the 15th state. And then the bottom of the bottle, again, I'm not sure I got good show of it there.
Yeah.
Bottom of the bottle, the backside of what's called a George Washington Success Token, also from 1795, that had 15 stars on the back, celebrating Kentucky. And the front center is Daniel Boone leading the settlers through the wilderness, through the Cumberland Gap, into America's First West. So First West also celebrates Kentucky as being America's First West and the home of bourbon. So these guys went through the Cumberland Gap, 1775. This is off of a famous old painting, and again celebrating Kentucky as the First West. So when you came through that gap, it was part of Virginia then. How somebody could claim ground, you had to settle it. Which meant you had to build a cabin and you had to grow a crop of corn. And what did you do with corn on the frontier to kind of store it through winter? You distilled it. Bourbon County's created in 1785, and it became bourbon, from being whiskey from Kentucky County made of corn. So, kind of the birthplace of America's First West is in Kentucky, and the home of bourbon is in Kentucky. So that's kind of what we're trying to. Amen. We packed a lot in a bottle, right?
You did it all, and not only is the flavor beautiful, the story is, the bottle is. This is Is this from a painting, or did the design?
It is from a painting. That's a famous painting, George Caleb Bingham, and actually the painting's in the St. Louis Museum of Art. Oh. And it showcases that historic moment, right, when they first opened that trail through the wilderness and through the Cumberland Gap into, before that, all the colonies, everything's east of the Appalachians. So it really celebrates kind of that opening of America's West and that great story of, adventure and ambition that, took America to the West Coast.
From what I recall, that's a pretty big painting, isn't it?
It's a pretty good size.
Yeah. I was just there a couple months ago.
Oh, were you? Okay.
You know what I need to do now? I don't know if I should say this, but I need to sneak a little bit of a flask in, have a sip of this as I look at that painting.
It's only fair. We should get we need a photo. We need an Instagram photo of us with this in front of that painting.
I think they might let you take some. And
St. Louis, here we come.
Yeah, I like that. It's incredible. What a great story. So much history in the bottle, but and the name, the beautiful design. Where do you find those? I mean, have you been collecting these artifacts, collectibles for a while?
Probably
you have like your own museum there almost.
We do. We have a kind of a museum on our website. We don't have the bottles on there yet. We need to get them on. But we probably through, after we started distilling, we started kind of getting this idea of 15 stars. It's been probably 4 years that we've been out there trying to find some really special things from Kentucky history. The bottles are one. We got some original Kentucky rifles made in Kentucky. Wow. We got some silver items made in Kentucky. We got some furniture items made in Kentucky. So we've been trying to collect the things that showed the artisanship and craftsmanship of that place where bourbon was born. And that same craftsmanship has been in the whiskey for all those years, for 250 years. And we're beneficiaries of that. So we want to honor that craftsmanship and artisanship and move it forward, right? And that's kind of what bringing our corns, bringing our blending, bringing our flavor proofing. How do we contribute to just that really strong history of craftsmanship in Kentucky?
Such an incredible project. And not only do they go hunt for great bourbons and whiskeys and put them together, they hunt for these pieces of history. You can find them on the website. Maybe at some point, are you thinking you may take them on the road or have maybe a small?
Definitely. Yeah, no, we are thinking that we are kind of looking around for that kind of at home place in Kentucky. Louisville or Bardstown are likely candidates where we can build a tasting room, especially when all our different corns come of age, and we're able to kind of showcase those corns, where we can showcase all those flavors of those corns and tell the story of bourbon through the artisanship and craftsmanship in Kentucky. And those museum items would be at that location. So we're excited to share it someday.
So for now, I'm just so glad you're sharing these because these are so beautiful. Extra aged. I'm tasting this one now. This one is the oldest of the line, the collection of First West. What are we tasting here? This is lovely.
Yeah, extra age, a blend of 2 8-year-olds and a 9-year-old bourbon, all from Kentucky at 100 proof. So this does not contain any of our own distillate. If we had 8-year-old, that would be awesome, but we'll have to be a little more patient. But yeah, 2 8s and a 9. One of those 8s, and what I think contributes to a lot of the roundness and interesting flavors in the product is that one of those 8s is a high malted barley mash bill.
Okay.
And it's not a majority or a large portion of the product. It's a pretty small portion of the product, because it's one of those things where if you made it a larger portion, it would overwhelm and cover a lot of things up. But it's 10%, and at 10%, it just provides a nice, like, it's like the background color on the canvas where everything else is placed on. It's the base of the product.
This is the mouthfeel on this too. The mouthfeel on all these. You've thought about the proof. You've done your flavor proofing process, which I know we've discussed before. But tell us, what is that flavor proofing process?
Yeah. So for us, flavor proofing is pretty simple. It is purely proofing for flavors. So rather than proofing low for cost or volume, or proofing at cask strength for a marketing term. Our idea is that during our blending process, we should be very intentional about our proofing. So while we're creating different blends, we're trying them up and down the proof range so that we can find a blend and proof that combine very well together and complement each other. So if you add water to a product or change the proof, it brings different flavors to the forefront. It can, express different things. And so proofing isn't just about things like mouthfeel, while it is very much about mouthfeel, but it's adjusting flavor at the same time. Even once you've picked a blend that has a flavor you like, the proof is further adjusting that flavor.
Yeah. And Tom, you mentioned mouthfeel there. And that's something that we really do focus on. And that proof has something to do with it, right? And the blends can affect that as well. But one of the real big things in that too is the filtration. And so we're always cautious to filter at really the very lightest that we can do. We don't need pieces of charred barrel in the bottle, right? So we want to take that out. But we want to be sure in that filtration, we go beyond kind of that non-chill filtration, which a lot of people talk about. And there's still a layer of filtration that kind of gets that char out, but it can be still kind of tight. And so we really loosen that up, because, if you get the blend right and you get the proof right, where you're not, you leave it to where you've got a viscosity in your mouth, right? That stays with you. It's rich. It's allowing that whiskey, that bourbon, to just stay with you. And so that's part of the drinking experience that often doesn't get the attention that people don't talk about as much, but we think it's a really important part of the experience.
It really is. I get that on this one. There's some of this wonderful dark fruit on this. I get tobacco. I get something that has this old world note too on it. It has a lot happening without being overwhelming with the barrel, without being overwhelming with the flavor, but yet it's just so elegant. So much of what you do, so much of what I've had of what you've done has been so elegant.
Yeah, and that's an important part. Ricky talked about, some things you have to play kind of light with, right? Which that's a blend of 2 8s and a 9. So one of the 8s, it can't be too much, right? Because it takes over. So it really is to get the nuance and the elegance. It really is about kind of bringing those things together in a blend and proof combination that's put it in balance, right? Blending is the art of finding balance and letting each of them show the best that they can show, but not take over and not cover up what some of the good things the other one has to give. And so it's a lot of nuance. But I like your word elegance, because that's really what we're after, is finding that spot where it really just shines as a group.
It really does. And again, this is also delicious. 15stars.com is the website to go to see all of what they do, and to have the experience of the collection. This one is rye. This is the fine aged rye. This is a fairly limited one. There's still a little bit of it out there, right?
Yep, there is.
It has that wonderful top. That's the old coin.
Yep, 15 stars on the very first coinage of the United States, celebrating Kentucky again. So bringing history back into the picture.
It's one of those old. Are these pretty rare? If you can find one of the coins, the actual coins,
You can find one of those. You're going to have about depending on which one, a $5,000 coin or a $15,000 coin or a $20,000 coin.
You don't see them that much then.
Yeah, if you find one of those when you're picnicking, you hit the jackpot.
You better keep it, but yet we feel like we have one in our hands, and I know I have the jackpot here. This is several different ages. This is a blend of 14, 13, 9, and 8-year-old rye whiskeys from several places.
Yeah, this is really one of my favorite things that we've ever done. I love it. It's again elegant. It's a gentleman's rye. It's a blend of Tennessee, Indiana, and Kentucky. It's a blend of kind of traditional 95.5 ryes along with those 51% ryes.
Several different ones.
Yeah, so it just and again for us, just kind of playing with the blends. And Ricky, I don't know, you want to talk about flavor a little bit on this one?
Yeah, what do you get, Ricky? This is just so beautiful. A lot of fruits. What do you get?
Yeah, so well, kind of the drivers of flavors. There's a couple different mash bills in here. So I would say half of it is the 13 and 14-year-old, which is a 95.5 mash bill, which is a very familiar mash bill for a lot of people, but not necessarily at that age. And at that age, it's much different.
Mellows out.
Yeah, exactly. It mellows out a lot.
Right.
So it brings a lot of interesting aged rye notes in the form of, a lot of more caramel and barrel notes in the rye rather than the kind of spice notes. And so then the 9-year-old is another basically half of the product, and that is a 51% rye. So a high corn, barely legal rye, however you want to call it, that brings a lot of those fruitier notes that you were mentioning. So that and that's a really interesting rye because a barely legal rye doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry fruity notes. I would say it's a bit of an outlier in that. Typically, you add corn and you get sweeter notes, but I wouldn't think of it as fruit sweet necessarily in terms of notes of apricot and dried fruits and things like that. But that's what this rye does carry, and is a very fun rye to blend with because of that.
It goes places that I've not seen a rye go, and I even get like a pear note on this, kind of a honeyed pear. There's a beautiful creaminess underneath this. It just, that it's rye, but it just goes so many beautiful.
And our lowest proof so far too. So another
lowest proof.
Yeah, 95 proof on that product.
So this is the lowest proof ever on the 15 Stars Fine Aged Rye. Was this your first rye? You did one other rye before this.
We've done we have a First West rye that we released before the First West brand, and that was an incredible rye for us. Won best of show at the New York World Spirits Competition. Same at the the
LA Spirits.
LA Spirits Award, same thing. Best of show, best whiskey in the competition, then best rye at the ADI Awards. And so, but that we did 2 batches of that rye. So I guess it depends if you would call that one product or 2 products. But yeah.
So much that you all are doing that's just you're always so much fun to chat with and to learn with and from. And again, look for First West at the Bourbon Festival this weekend across the country. And of course the 15 Stars and that Artisan, that brand new Artisan that we were first to chat with you all about. Look for that as well, that 12 and 15-year-old blend of bourbons. And is it possible we may see even more under the collection of First West as well coming?
Definitely. 2026 will bring some nice fun things.
Always more from Rick and Ricky, the father-son team behind 15 Stars. Check them out on 15 Stars Bourbon. And gentlemen, I'll see you at the Bourbon Festival in Bardstown, Kentucky this week. Thank you so much, y'all, for being with us on Bourbon Blog.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
See you this weekend.
Thank you.